Character, character, character. That's something that we hear all the time. If we say it 3 times, we can express exactly how important it is.
I know for me, I work very efficiently when I spend most of my time creatively outlining who my characters are, about where they're going to go.
If you don't know your characters really well, you can get lost in building a story. All a story is just like characters making choices. If you aren't 100% steadfast and like, I actually know exactly how this character would make every choice they're going to make, that's how you get lost.
When we talk about Breaking Bad, the story of a guy who is cooking meth because he has a prognosis that he's going to die and he wants to support his family, you hear that and you go, but you get to the end and you realize like, oh, I really cared about Walt and Jesse. We remember the characters. So you really do have to start from a place of character creation. That's the most fun part because you get to build a person.
A guy opens his door and gets shot and you think that of me? No. I am the one who knocks.
I think when you first start with a new character, everybody has their own approach. And again, because the writing process is so collaborative and non-linear, when you're talking about a character, part of the linear aspect of a character is these are the things that happened to them starting when they were a baby. So who were their parents? Where geographically did they grow up? What are their interests? And more importantly, like what were they exposed to as a kid? And then you start to think about the nature versus nurture conversation, which is who they were and where they were raised is very important, but equally important, if not more important, is like, what is their temperament? What kind of a person are they? Are they type A? Are they an introvert? Are they an extrovert? For someone who spent a lot of time playing Dungeons and Dragons, you know, this sort of idea of like, you know, are they order? Are they chaos?
I take personality tests for all my characters and I answer all the questions like I'm them. I pick a Zodiac sign for them because what that gives me is a full character description. You can just like think about the different ways in which those people would act just because of those Zodiac signs, whether you do or do not believe in it. It's like, it at least gives you like parameters for a human being's personality. But it just forces you to make choices in someone else's brain.
When it comes to describing a character, I always think of the question, how will we know? You know, you'll see a character description that describes them as warm and friendly. And I'm always asking, how are we going to know that? And I always try to find some sort of action associated with that so that it's not just a description on a page, but the actor and the filmmakers have a way of showing you what's most important. I always think about Callie Corey's introduction of Thelma or Louise. One of the first times you see Gina Davis's character, she opens up the refrigerator, takes a bite of a candy bar and sticks it back in and closes the refrigerator. And this is a woman who hasn't allowed herself as much pleasure as she could have in life. And it was such a smart way of showing that. I tried to find something like that.
You know, when you're coming into IP and there's existing material, existing storylines and existing characters, especially when it's a property that has like really deep fan base and people who love and care about these characters, I think a lot of it's just about respect and it's about like learning the characters and understanding who they are and what it is that people love, but also giving them something that feels new and fresh and exciting that they haven't seen before. So mostly for me, it's about doing a lot of research and then understanding that there will be departures. There'll be things that you need to honor and stick with and things where you naturally are going to want to create your own thing and feel free. For me, I totally fell in love with Amanda Conner and Jimmy Palmiotti gave Harley Quinn pet hyenas. And I was like, how is that not the greatest thing ever? I love that. I wanted to do that. And so as soon as I was reading the comics and I saw that, I was like, oh, I really hope I can find a way to sneak that in. And it's just about falling in love with different babies and then finding different places to put them.
Okay, so here's how not to plan a career.
Rob is somebody that you could look at and say is an unlikable character and you want to make sure that the audience connects with them in some way. I think that one of the things Veronica and I, and frankly Zoe, when she came aboard the project, said from the very beginning is, we are not going to deviate from who the male Rob in the book is. We are going to keep those things that make it hard to root for them sometimes. We are not going to fall prey to, can this woman be more likable? Something I, in writers' rooms, heard coming up all the time is, how do we root for her if she's doing something like this? And I think that you have to trust your audience. You have to especially trust your female audience that they have lived that part of life before. They have done unlikable things. There is absolutely no reason why you can't be creating characters like the male Rob and not believe that women are capable of being just as complex. That said, I think that you want to make sure that you're not creating somebody that you don't want to spend time with. I think that you have to trust that your audience is willing to jump into complex characters who don't always do the right thing.
If I don't wear makeup, somebody always asks, "Are you okay? You look sick."
Oh, come on, it's not that serious.
I think the tendency in sketch is to not develop characters because you're not going to be with them that long. But on our show, our characters come back a lot. So we want people to be invested. We want them to get excited when they see those characters again later on in the series. We do definitely focus on creating three-dimensional characters where we can. I don't believe in any straight man characters. So I don't believe that one person is crazy and wacky and that their friend is like, come on now, stop joking around. Because I just don't think that's funny and it's not fun to play. 95% of our sketches are characters that we just want to see on screen. And our main cast members are so talented that they're able to create those characters and bring them to life on screen. No character in our show is ever like the stick in the mud. Or if they are the stick in the mud, they're such a comedic stick in the mud that it's just as fun to play. But I am so sick of women, especially Black women, whenever we're written as a friend or as a love interest, we're just humorless, you know, as a wife or love interest. And as the best friend, it's like humor with no substance. For us, we wanted to buck all of those trends and be able to show Black women in a grounded way, but in this magical reality, so that if a unicorn comes walking through a scene, it makes perfect sense in the world that we live in.
I want to see characters at the moment that their world ends. That's when it's most interesting. Something like The Leftovers, everybody's world ended 3 years prior to the show's beginning. That's when their worlds actually start to explode. With Lost, the characters' worlds all exploded when the plane crashed on the island. With Watchmen, Angela's world basically explodes when she realizes that the chief of police turned out to be a white supremacist. I want to meet characters in a moment of crisis. That to me is when their true colors shine.
I think something that every writer should have is empathy and a strong sense of interest in why people behave the way they do. I worked on Succession, and I'm not a billionaire. I'll probably never be a billionaire. I don't come from that background. Nobody in my family comes from that background. And yet I understand feeling like you've disappointed your father. I understand feeling alone. I understand feeling jealous. I understand sibling rivalry. I understand depression. I understand feeling sad and like you've lost your way. I understand feeling, sexual anxieties and nervous about your sexuality. When you're tasked with writing about these people who feel so different from you, I think that the key is that they aren't really that different from you. I don't know who said it, but I remember reading this quote a long time ago that the deeply personal is going to be universal. That as long as you are coming from a sort of a personal place of authenticity, like that is going to resonate with people no matter what it is, because we're all human beings. We all feel the same things.
Whenever I think I'm done with a script, I read through the whole thing pretending I am an actor, a busy actor, who's trying to decide whether or not to do it. And I read it and I think, is there enough there for me, the actor, to say, yeah, I'm going to give 6 months, 3 months, whatever of my life to this project, and I'm going to choose it over the other 5 that I have offered. That sounds like it's a casting thing, but it's not actually. It's a writing thing, because if it's not there enough for an in-demand actor to want to do it, it's not there. And if you do that for all your characters, regardless of gender, regardless of the size of the character, you can do that for yourself for a character who appears in one scene. and end up with a better scene because you've told yourself, I want a really great actor who has options to sign on for that part. I'm going to give them a reason to do this show.